Thank you very much, and welcome to the short course on groundwater quality in transboundary aquifers. My name's Kawawa Banda, and basically in module 1, we'll be looking at groundwater transboundary aquifers of Southern Africa. And in this welcome note, the intention is that I want to run you through into the different aspects that the module will cover. So in terms of our learning objectives, one is that we want to show the value and the role of groundwater in the water balance. Two, to appreciate the diversity of groundwater occurrence in different geological formations. Three, to explain the concept of groundwater flow and the character of groundwater. Four, to demonstrate methods of mapping aquifer systems. Okay, so the module form is basically broken into four. The first part is a welcome note, and this is where we are now. And then we'll go into the lecture presentations, then case studies, and then a self-assessment at the end. The outcome is really that this module wants to provide knowledge and understanding of the petrophysical properties that control aquifer productivity, obviously including the flow and the potential implications of this on the groundwater quality. So in terms of what the lecture presentations will cover, they will cover a topic on water balance cycle, occurrence of groundwater, groundwater flow and chemical properties, and then methods of mapping aquifer systems. Okay, so just to really give a value proposition of why it is important that you go through this particular module, groundwater is the most abundant freshwater resource. However, it is hidden. And because it is hidden, normally it is also under threat. It's threatened because it is out of sight and therefore out of mind. However, we know that the dependency on groundwater is on the increase, owing to the fact that the world all over is going through elements of climate change and of course, climate variability. And then we've got a rapidly increasing population, not only in Southern Africa, but across Sub-Saharan Africa, which is obviously posing a risk on contamination of this resource. And just to give an indication of its usage also, estimates have been reported that groundwater is 200 times more utilized than petroleum products, which means that it's also obviously under threat of being mined, and sustainability of this resource is threatened. So it means that we need to really unlock and understand this resource for us to manage it properly. Okay, so in terms of the key issues or gaps that exist at the moment on groundwater, even in transboundary aquifers, is that one, we don't have very clear indications of elements of storage and the flow at the regional level. Estimates have been provided by institutions like BGS and BGR, which is just the British Geological Survey and the German equivalent, on water levels, on groundwater levels across Africa. But this information is still very localized in some sites, and monitoring needs to inform how credible this information is or how useful it is. So basically, we've also got a lot of missing information on what is available. Our completion reports are inadequate, and of course, the quality aspects is even worse. So at transboundary level, right, we know that issues of water salinity are the biggest threat, And at a local scale, obviously, this is more around sanitation, but at a bigger scale, this is more from contamination from geogenic sources, as well as anthropogenic activities such as cattle rearing in, for example, Botswana, nitrates from cattle rearing from Botswana. Okay, so in terms of the details around the module topics, in terms of what will be covered, in the water balance topic, we'll really introduce groundwater, both from a global perspective as well as a regional perspective, and then delve down into how groundwater is important in the in the water cycle, and also demonstrate elements of the water balance as well as how it links into the quality aspects. And then we'll go into the occurrence of groundwater. And in this topic, we'll look at showcasing different geological environments and the state in which groundwater is hosted, and then giving, of course, examples from the Southern African perspective of what diversity exists. Then lecture 3, we'll look into groundwater flow and the chemical properties that define it. And here we'll look into Darcy's law, just defining it, what are the elements it has, then surface water groundwater interactions, then go into the chemical character of groundwater, and then sources of contamination. The last lecture will look into methods of mapping aquifer systems. So basically we'll look into groundwater aquifer issues, how to collect hydrogeological information, and then spend some time in terms of mapping the aquifer itself, with some, of course, illustrations on works that have been done by UNESCO and other parties within the region. The case study, 2 case studies will be looked at. Number 1 is that of the Stamprite aquifer. This is a Kalahari Karoo aquifer, and the work that was done by BGR through Steadley et al. Will be looked at, basically looking at issues to do with sources and the fate of nitrates in groundwater across different hydrogeological diversities, within Botswana and Namibia. And obviously, this assessment has got a connotation in terms of how to manage, groundwater in this particular context at a transboundary level. And then the second case study will look at the lower Kalahari aquifer, and here we'll look at the extent of deep aquifers and how they are recharged, again across 2 countries. This is basically in Angola, getting into Namibia around the Caprivi region. So of course, this is really focused on understanding deep groundwater exploration and what the potential is for transboundary aquifers in Southern Africa, but also in the sub-Saharan region. Okay, and these are the key texts that would like you to look at for references. Freeze and Cherry is now free and can be available for download. There's also a very nice training manual that has been produced through CAPNet and, of course, AGWNet on groundwater management in IWM, also a very good, useful source of information. And then there's also a publication done by UpGrow, which is also very nice for reference, material. Okay, and then the assessment basically will be multiple choice, and you'll be either selecting which one is appropriate or a true and false kind of a situation. So you need to complete this, and I've highlighted an example there of how this would look like. So basically that is our welcome note, and I encourage you to participate effectively and learn. Thank you very much.